Good afternoon and welcome. Richard Miller, and this is Kulingata. I might not be saying that like an Aussie, but I know where I am. And I know Never Not Here too, so I guess you do too. So thanks for coming here, and the discovery moves forward. Every day we're discovering. Every hour. Oh boy. When it gets to be every minute, I guess I'll be on the moon. I don't know what. So anyhow, let's just not get into the philosophy and say hi to Kean Buckley.
Hey Richard, how are you?
Not even knowing, but it's got to be good.
Good. Yeah.
Well, I should say, how are you?
Yeah, fine. I've just had a 2-hour drive at speed to get down here from 2 districts north. One is Brisbane and then Sunshine Coast where I live. So my kids are all out shopping now, and I'm a little bit hot and bothered, but I'm in a good space too. You know, yeah. Nice to be here.
I'm relating with so many people.
Yeah.
Because it's a new country, even not only a new city, and
yeah.
And I guess I must be interesting because people are not walking away, right? They're paying attention and
yeah,
and give me a chance to act out my routines, and it kind of calls into question all my routines, like, you know, who is this guy and what am I up to, and am I really being authentic to these people, and I'm laying an old number on them,
yeah,
and it gives me a chance to kind of relook at myself and see, are these old patterns worth anything whatsoever?
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. It's intense, really, because I'm almost embarrassed to pull one out, and there's so many of them.
Yeah.
And then I'm saying, "Oh my God, look at what I'm doing."
Yeah. Yeah, it's good that you're doing that. Yeah.
It's really fantastic. It's a rebirth.
Yeah.
But it's not a rebirth into something. Like I was an egg and now I'm a chicken.
No.
No, I'm not even a chicken either anymore. It's way beyond the chicken. It's just proven to me that there is no chicken. That's about the only answer. A good laugh.
I found, yeah, definitely, you know, yeah. I think most people got the answers. You just got to sit with them and they work it out themselves, you know, if they want to, you know, and if they don't, you know, it's okay. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm not in the same place as everyone else. I'm just working it out myself, noticing the crud and noticing the Kean.
Yeah, I notice it, and I guess I'm going to make a definition.
Yeah.
That that's part.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to say that, oh, here's the crud and here's my life and I'm over here. You know, I'm supposed to be over here, but I slip back to there.
Yeah.
So I'm not even saying here's the crud and here's the witness and here's my life.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stay in the middle and I'm going to look back and forth and say, oh, there, this, that. No, I'm trying to say, like, let me be the whole thing plus a little extra just in case, right? And so then I'll just go woo, woo, and then I'll be still in the middle too, and then woo, woo. And somehow that pre-definition also just kind of is a very allowing space, a wider definition in the first place of what is life, you know?
Yeah.
And with that wider space, there's really no goal. I'm trying to say, is there a goal? You know, I have to ask because I can't really declare that, and there's no goal. I mean, we all think that the goal is to enjoy and manage pain, let's say, not even avoid it, but somehow manage it and be okay with it.
Yeah.
And that's what we all think. I don't know, is it true?
I think it's about being with it all the time. I don't add bits to it, you know, there's enough already, and it's just being with what's occurring in my life, you know, and just noticing if I react or respond to it. But the laughter is the biggest thing. I found I've been with some people in the most incredible places and there's been laughter there. And that's I think what I bring to the industry, so to speak. You know, I'm kind of I don't know why, but I'm just funny in the funniest places. I couldn't sort of do a stand-up gig, or I once intended to be on TV in comedy, and I was within a few weeks. It was amazing. All my friends turned on, and there I was. I just got called into a show called CNNN, which is a takeoff of CNN. And I was the owner of Backpackers in Bondi, and I was going to bring Prince Harry to Australia, and he was going to enjoy the delights of the backpackers. And there I was. I had my proverbial 30, 35 words in this short little skit, and I was in comedy. So there's a great hilarious nature to everything, and I find when my wife and I, or anyone I love, we're really in a good space, there's always laughter there. And I think anything else added to it is mind, and there is lots of mind, and everyone's trying to work this thing out, and best not, really. You know,
we play along with it, right?
Yeah.
We really play along with it, because people come to us and we say, okay, come on.
Yep.
Here's the door, come on in, and we got the room all fixed up.
Yep.
So then we're playing the game, right?
Yep.
Like there is mind and there's somewhere to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come here.
Yep.
You know, and bring your friends.
Yes, please. I got to pay the mortgage, you know. But it's all fun. It's all fun. I've been in business, and my partners have gone on to make many millions, and I just had my little awakening. It was just enough. I was in my little office looking at my harbour, and I had everything that, you know, looked like was something, but I knew it was nothing. And I had one of those moments where I just knew I had to leave, and I was probably the senior guy in the biggest private financial planning company in Australia, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And at the same time, The Matrix came out, and there's a guy called Keanu Reeves, and my name's Kean, and there's a bit of Hawaiian in there somewhere, and I just thought, I thought I was really funky, that I was taking my box and getting out of there. I didn't have Agent Anderson or whoever it is trying to chase me, but, you know, my life's been like that ever since. It was a search for freedom for probably the first 10 years, and then it hasn't been now. I can't really explain what it is now. Just, I do get people coming to see me, and they do pay money, and but there's always some laughter there at the end. We call my works Be Yourself, as you know, and if you Google that, I'm really quite proud. Be yourself in the world, we'd be the first name you'd see. And that's the only thing I stand behind, is getting people to recognise who they are. Because it's already done, but they're just not recognising it. And when they do, it's enormous. Yeah.
Now, you said you checked things out for 10 years, but was that why you were still in the financial planning business, or was that after you left?
After I'd left.
Oh, after you left, then you looked around. Huh?
Yeah. I looked all the supposed gurus in Australia, went to the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival, which was our prevalent. I'd been to a few years before, and I waited until I got a feeling, and then one day I had sort of lightning strike me through my body, and I had to work with this group of people, which I just want to keep their name to themselves, and and I really discovered with them what didn't work. But it's amazing, within the illusion that I was in, I learnt a lot, which I really believe. But then as I peeled back things a bit further, all that I'd done in that time was probably worthless. You know what I mean? And it was a bit like being in business. I'd gone from business to being spiritual, and neither of them fitted, because neither of them were really me. They were gross reactions, one to my poverty and, in my life, so to make money, and the other was to the lack of, the money wasn't a big thing, the lack of spirituality, and both of them were poverties as I searched for them. And I found they're already there, So there's a lot of sciences or ways of teaching that are very prevalent out there in the world at the moment, that I think they're learnings, but they're not what I'm about. I think that people have to learn these things. They have to sort of try on a pair of boots or a t-shirt or something and give it a go. But I think there's something that's been constant, whether you're a financial planner or a workshop guru. It's there. It's constant, and everyone's got it inside themselves. And when we recognise it, there's the
Isn't that always good advice, to try on a pair of boots?
Yeah.
I mean, like anything you're doing.
Yeah.
You're saying try on a pair of boots.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And in this country, you've got to see if there's not a spider or a snake in it, first. Give them a shake first before you try them on.
Before you get out. Okay, so then a lot of people have different kind of boots, right?
Yeah.
So watch out.
Yeah, definitely. But we've all got to try everything, and there's many roads to Rome, as they say. So no one could ever tell anyone how they're going to get what they're going to get. You know, I think we've all just got to respect everyone's way, which I've had difficulty with over time. You know, I've seen things that I see as distractions, or you know.
So then you work on be yourself, and you have this idea and kind of this keywords or mantra, not a mantra, but I mean, it's kind of a ring that you say, be yourself.
Yep.
And so people somehow are very foggy or clouded or shielded, right?
Yeah.
And so then when they break through those shields, and they say, oh my God, like this is probably more authentic.
Yes.
Yeah. And then what we're noticing here in some of these dialogues is the more subtle things get, the more you find it, and that wasn't authentic either. And then we think it's authentic. Why do we think it's authentic? Because it has a feeling, right? We have this feeling that's more true to us.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think we learn what authentic is. You know, that's an unfortunate thing. You know, we've lost the feeling of I don't use the word authentic too much, and it's a real big buzzword. Our business tends to follow our spiritual teachers by about 5 years. So even the really great personal development guys that do really well in this country, they go into the spiritual metaphysical teachings and bring it out and rebadge it. So authenticity is the biggest thing in our country at this point in time, as with positive psychology and the way the brain's wired. I'm a teacher, you know, not just a teacher of, you know, metaphysics, spirituality, or shall I call myself an educator? I prefer, because I believe everyone's already got everything. So it's just a question of noticing that they have that. I've been with schools recently, and I am still not incredibly impressed after having been out of teaching for 21 years, what the education system, for want of better terms, is giving our kids.
That's not going to be so easy. I don't think any country is really satisfied with their education system.
No. So I think basically, if we can really feel who people are and not teach it, but recognize what people feel like, when we get with them, we liberate each other. Like Marianne Williamson speaks about in her wonderful quote, you know, our presence liberates others. So I think it's this present moment.
So now wait a second. Let's just kind of stay with that for a while, because that sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So then something happens between in contact, in relationship.
I call it connection. Yeah.
The connection where we can actually feel liberated.
Yeah.
And maybe that could be part of our everyday, right? But for some reason it's not, and it's probably because we got some agendas, right? And they got agendas about us, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a kind of a mutual agreement, right? So that we can't really blame them or blame ourselves. But somehow we're in this web of agreement agendas.
I call it the energy game.
Yeah, the energy game. So the energy game is not so liberating.
No.
But there's an unenergy game that is liberating. Or like, what would you call it? Not the unenergy game. It's
be ourselves, who we are.
Be yourself game.
Yeah.
And that's more liberating.
Yeah.
And that, so far, it seems like you can't do it with your wife and kids and boss.
Yeah.
So far, you know.
Yeah.
And then so you think you can go to another place and kind of get the knack of it, right?
Yeah.
Or you can get liberated, and then it's like tanking up your topping off your petrol tank.
Well, the difficulty is it hasn't been looked at for so many years. So say the kids are beautiful as they're born, they're natural, whatever you want to say, and then we educate them so they become metronomic or robotic, or they develop characters or ways of being that we teach
they obey,
them.
right? That's how we really give a damn about it.
They obey through fear. I mean, I've been a terrible parent. You know, I come from a very metaphysically violent family, and when I participated consciously or unconsciously in doing that with my now 12-and-a-half-year-old, I could have ripped my arm off for hitting her as hard as I could on the bottom. You know, I went, how could I do this? You know, this is something that's in my family. It's been rabid for centuries. I thought it was going to stop in my generation. But what I knew is by stopping those behaviors and making myself separate to them, they actually needed to course through me. I needed to understand them. And so what I did is I allowed those energies to flow through me, and I haven't struck any of my kids ever since. Now, it's the worst thing to become the monster, so to speak, you know. And
now, what did you mean? Now, say that again. I didn't quite get it, because you said I've stopped those energies, but then they had a course through me. Did that mean like there was kind of like a a decision that I'll never do what my previous generations did.
Yeah.
But you did it kind of like blocking it, but you can't
cut.
But
Yeah.
You cut it, but
Yeah.
in other words, it was still there, and when it
Absolutely.
kind of fed through, it even came through
Yeah.
even harder.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you try to dam up, well, you can dam up a great river, but you know, you have to put a lot of effort into it. And I don't believe we need to dam rivers or stop flows. So my wife and I don't teach positive, negative, or dualities. I mean, dualities are there. Isms, basically, you know, we don't really have a philosophy at all. It's just everything's okay, what needs to occur. So what wasn't okay for me was, let's say, I don't want to sort of bag anyone in my family, but it wasn't okay for me what occurred in my family, so consequently I did that to it. And I kept myself separate from that and holier than thou or whatever, but these energies needed to run through me. So consequently, when I let them run through me, I could understand violence or whatever. I mean, there's a great big thing in our world at the moment, non-violent communication. I have so many friends that there's a hypocrisy to it, because there are some great teachers, and I waited for someone to write that. We're all violent. We all have all of these energies flowing through this. So when I say what you're doing is that, and I'm not that, and I shall teach you something, there's a gross hypocrisy there which creates the problem in the first place. All the problems in the world, much the same as our presence liberates others, our problems create problems, you know. So if we can be okay with our problems and liberate our problems as much as we liberate our presence and bring them both together within the duality or matrix or whatever you want to call it, we're free, if you want to call it that, or happy, or
Liberate
liberated.
our problems and bring them together with this moment?
Yeah.
Or what? What came together? I didn't quite catch that.
It's hard to describe, because it's kind of like it's not really being spoken about in any way that it's got words that describe it well. Do you follow me? So sometimes I find I don't have words to describe what I feel, you know, but it's kind of like we allow everything to be. This is probably the best thing, and everything just is, and nothing is right and nothing is wrong. So we actually walk the talk of all of this stuff we've been learning for many, many, many years. We actually understand it, you know. So,
well, what would the details look like? In other words, you could say, okay, there's a violence there. I blocked it out. Now I got to let it flow through me. Okay, let's arrange a big pillow fight, you know?
Yeah.
Or something like that. I mean, they've done it, you know, in counter groups and stuff like that.
You could have a great big pillow fight, and anyone actually reacted, you'd realize that there was a bit of stuck energy within them that they hadn't noticed. So, you know, whack the energy with the pillows. Ha ha ha, laughter yoga it out. I don't know, but like maybe if the person could see it. My wife, relationship's the best thing. I mean, probably something I should speak about. My wife and I speak at the relationship. We speak about relationship a lot at festivals. And if we focus on that, we'd be laughing. I think we've got to the point where we've got through relationship to a great extent where we can't screw up the relationship we're in right now.
So many things come out in a relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe all of life is a relationship.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Actually, one time I gave my wife a really good whack with a pillow.
Cool.
She divorced me over it.
No sense of humor.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. She came after my throat after that. You know? And that's no
Definitely
good.
no sense of humor. Yeah.
And so then the cool part was that we made the divorce papers, but we didn't file them.
Oh,
and then a couple of months we were back together.
Oh, great.
But I never hit her with a pillow again. No good. No go. That's a no-go.
Yeah. That's what I see in relationship. People have, I mean, we've got a friend here from Greece. They have like Greek pillars of their crap in between them and another person. And they say, you can't go here, you can't go here, you can't go. And the other person will say, okay, okay, okay. And then the relationship becomes an agreement where, you know, it's not about knocking over people's boundaries, for want of a better term, or pushing their buttons or anything like that. But I think who we really are, we're open to everything. So I try to learn as much when I'm speaking as when I'm not. You know, I try to be in the flow all the time. I mean, the body of my work's about the connection, the thing I speak about, where all the great cultures talk that we're all related. So, you know, really all the really great arts say, let's take responsibility for all of this stuff. While we lock people in prisons for 20 years, and that's never changed anything, because we haven't taken responsibility for that endemic violence or lack of care or whatever it is. which to a person who's full up with problems, if we just give them a little bit of extra, that's violent. It's very sophisticated violence, and I grew up with sophisticated violence. You know, little bits under the table. Oh, I don't really like you today, but poof, big cut under the table. As much as a rough school I went to where someone could punch someone in the nose and it would be the same energy dependent on the level of sophistication. I think Jesus once said, you take the log out of your eye before I take the splinter out of mine. He's saying, yeah, I've got the problem, but you've got a big log in there, mate. Have a look. I've cleared a lot of it. I've still got a bit of splinter in here, and I can tell we're still wrestling over the same bit of wood.
There isn't such an easy solution, you know, just lock away what you don't like. And I guess we're experts at it in the United States. I mean, but other countries have kind of backed off of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think it's just full responsibility. I try to work holistically. So if I have a problem with something, I have a problem with something. Everybody must know dualities by now. You know, people say, that's really wrong what you're doing, you know, but there's three fingers pointing back at us. And I say there's a thumb pointing up your backside where you really need to look. That's where the problem is, where the smoke is. And people really aren't... There's this beautiful ability that we all have to commune or be one or flow or love or whatever you want to call it. And it gets wrecked by thinking and perception, and all of our problems feed from poor education. And if we could come back to ground zero, for want of better terms, a still place within ourselves where kids of all colours, without nappies on, walk around without judging and criticising and worrying about what size of what thing they're going to develop, and they just live harmoniously, we probably need to get back to something that's already within us, that we all know it's in there, like a seed that's being planted. And we seem to have come down here to have pillow fights or jelly fights or tantrums, etc., in very big bodies with large abilities, with powerful responsibilities, perhaps not, you know, perhaps not as loving as they might be.
We got all the armies and navies and instruments of war. And here we are. I mean, and then the word diplomacy is just a joke, you know, because whoever does diplomacy, it's a mutual threatening club, right? And diplomacy kind of means you're working it out, right?
Yeah.
And what are we working out? Just go out there and work it out.
Absolutely. And if you really wanted to, like when I fight with my wife, let's bring it back to basics. I love my wife. I want to be with her at the end of this life. So I'm going to do what it takes to make it worth it because I love her. You understand? And we have difficulties, and sometimes I'm a great, I can't think, I don't want to swear, but, you know, ignoramus, a fool, you know, and so is she at times, you know, women can, you know.
I don't know, I never had much success with that one, but I've tried it, you know.
You know,
but anyhow.
But we change sexes, and
we've
still got to
be, we still got to make some kind of like agreements, right? We can't be totally spontaneous. Because, I mean, you take the kids today and you say, no, wait a minute, I was just talking to this lady and we were into metaphysics and stuff. I forgot all about picking up the kids, right? I mean, what? You did what?
Yeah. Well, that's the holistic thing. I think it's okay to have vague moments, and, you know, I've had a few conversations in my time where I've been off with the fairies or not remembered things, etc. But I tend to find when I'm in connection, and we, you know, good yoga teachers teach us, they say, listen to the sounds within the room, and we listen to them. And then we extend ourselves out to listen to the sounds as far away as possible. And, you know, we stretch ourselves. But at the end of the day, what we're about is peace when there's a difficulty, and acting peacefully or lovingly when it's, you know, you want to tear someone's head off or react or something. And if that's the case within me, that's my problem. It's not someone else's. And I'm sure that all the gross acts or grandiose acts of violence or power, greed, control, etc., are all based upon babies that have grown up that really haven't grown up holistically without a world view and a world caring. And I think some people are starting to get that now. They're starting to say, well, hey, you know, I got friends that agonize about things, and I don't think it's about becoming another agony aunt and complaining, because a whinger creates a whinger and you just have whinging. I think it's about love. And I found, I mean, I had some interesting drivers on the way down here. It's amazing when you want to get somewhere quick.
Let's just talk about peace a second, you know, because like there's two ways that people could use peace. Because peace can be kind of like an escape, right?
Yes.
You could say there's something going on.
Yes.
And I'm just going to go to peace, right?
Yes.
And then, of course, that's something that's probably going to go on tomorrow, too, because you didn't really do anything.
Yes.
I mean, there was no action.
Yes.
And then the other way is kind of what you said, that if we have peace, I don't know your exact words. It was kind of like we'd be more effective or something like that. You know, in other words, we could act out of that more grounded, centered space, and probably make a more diligent action that would be different than the one we did before, and so then maybe would have a different result.
Well, I believe that inside our body is probably a holographic or total representation of what's outside our body. So all we need to do is handle what's inside our skin, or you can take out a few auras or whatever. I don't see auras, other people do. A couple of times I have. It's not relevant to me. I need to kind of see the body that's in front of me, and my job is just to respond to what's within me. Now, I don't think I've explored too much of that. Recently, playing soccer at 49.5, I tore my ACL ligament, you know, and that was a bit of a shock. I never really had a body problem. I've had a knee reconstruction, so I wasn't too aware of what was going on in my knee. And I think that's the case for most people. They're not too aware of the whole universe holistically.
Well, wouldn't you say this, like you can't really take care of your body until you break it? I mean, because if you're a kid, like let's say, and every morning you wake up and everything's perfect, you know, maybe a little hangover, but not much, you know, and then it's gone in an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the problem? Why would you change any behaviors? Because everything just wears off with a good night's sleep and everything's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, you twist your knee in soccer, but tomorrow it's okay.
Yeah.
And you play another better game, and you got an excuse that says the more you strain yourself, the stronger you get.
Yes.
And so then until something starts breaking down, not only in your physical body, but also in your emotional body, and also in your relationships, and also in your work ethic, and everything really has to break before you can really consider it, doesn't it?
Well, there are levels. There are levels. I agree with that. There are levels. I mean, I've got a friend of mine's a shaman from Byron, and he studied with the Sundance guys that brought back the thing where you pierce yourself and you hang back, and there's some black elk and these great American Indians, and taught me something that was interesting. He said feather, brick, Mack truck. And I've got some teachers over in Perth, apparently they've got this on the wall, feel the feather. And what it basically means is the body normally, when it is working, it'll tear little ligaments, little muscles. That's why they hurt, etc. But they'll fix overnight, particularly if they're done in integrity with the exercise of I can curl 40 kilos, now I want to go to 50. Well, you're going to tear a few muscles potentially if you get the technique wrong, and you know, you'll hurt little attachments here and there, and they can fix overnight or 2 days, whatever. That's the feather. You know, perhaps you don't need to tear at all, to be honest. You know.
Oh yeah, because see, now I have a belief that tearing is how things grow. Because when it grows back, it grows double. Because the body said, "Uh-oh, it tore here. Let's kind of build up over here." So how do you beef up if you don't tear? Can't
tell you. Even though I am a qualified phys ed teacher with an honours degree, I could tell you I know nothing about it, so I won't even try to answer it. What I am saying is there's a place where you go too far. It's a brick. It's kind of like a brick in the head, metaphysically. You know, a poor comment to your wife when she said, you know, I'm going to divorce now over the pillow or something, you know. And then there's the Mack truck. And I think in the end, most people have to discern there. Now, you might find that's just the physical universe that we can see, feather, brick, Mack truck, but there might be a subtlety even greater than the feather. And what I found for myself, Richard, as I get older as a man, I'm 50. Okay, I can't arm wrestle guys to the ground anymore. I can't run, you know, 11 seconds for 100 meters. I'm getting older, but I'm learning to work with energy rather than muscle. And I found, certainly in a yoga practice, which I'm just starting to get into, I wouldn't profess to be any, my wife is a yoga teacher, so that's helped me a lot. I'm noticing that it's actually possible to hold postures much longer than I could using muscles that would tear. So I think really, to be honest, perhaps a lot of the way that people do life is energy corrupt, and there's a debt to it because they can only do something for so long that involves debt. You know, it involves a debt on the body where we've got to sleep and get the body back, and there's only so much we can lift. My heyday, I could squat 280 kilos. That's a lot of weight. Okay, so I was a strong guy. But there are women and men that in moments of great need do incredibly powerful things, nothing close to those levels, which are close to like national record lifting levels. I've got a friend of mine, at 65 kilos, he was third in the world at 280 squat. So you know, and recently we had a woman that I think the grandmother lifted a gravestone and threw it off her kid, and it would have gone in an arc and landed probably 2 meters away, and it took three men all their strength to pick it up. So call it superhuman or call it being in the present moment or through need, etc. I know people have lifted cars off kids, of friends, because they've been, perhaps, shall we call it, present and beyond the laws that you and I may be speaking about with tearing muscles, etc. I think, to be honest, we do need to look deeper, more subtly into ourselves. And, you know, if we're approaching martial arts or great Zen masters or stillness, I think that's really where the world needs to come to, is the peace and the stillness, to have people like Barack Obama and other guys sit there going, well, you know, I could put 60 guys in the room, and if we do want world peace, you know, gee, you know, if I wanted to organise my kid's birthday party and have, you know, 200 rock stars there, I can do it within a month. Surely I could get the world of different levels of want and need with not much money to actually have world peace, or stop all the missiles, put the money into, I don't know, education or love funds. I don't know. I mean, you know, this sounds all fluffy, but it really isn't. It's very possible. And I think we need to get through the muscle tearing realities to a reality I'm trying to speak about. And I'm not saying I know it well, but a reality where we all know and we all want, rather like those kids in the playpen going around enjoying each other, you know?
So many things are happening in the world. And then we say, if somebody could bring people together and speak more earnestly about a peace process, or about what really are our needs or our interests, it would be a miracle if somebody could really do that. But then so many times we think, well, you can only work on yourself, whatever we say to people. And then we say, okay, well, we could bring the fleets home. You know, we could do something ourselves too, right? Or we could, but I mean, what you said seems to be so needed in this time. I don't know if am I putting too much on the time and saying that something is here when it's just my perception, or what are these times to you?
I don't think so. I think there's only this moment, Richard. So say you or I or whoever's here, you know, could make a felt stand for something. I'm sure that's what great people have done in the past. They've just stood somewhere, and from a very heartfelt perspective, I'll tell you, I had about quite a few gurus hanging around my partner that called just before we were here, and she was considering not having the baby I told you about. And I just remember making a stand, and I didn't say a thing. I said, no, we're having that baby no matter what happens. It's happening. Now, some people are making a stand for war, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. They totally believe in what they're doing, you know? And I need to see that where I stand. You know, I know plenty of people, if something happens to one of their kids, they say, I'll kill someone if they did that. That's the stand they make. They would kill.
It's not always that way, though, because I heard of some amazing peace process and amazing ways to process pain.
Yeah.
And I heard these things that people that had atrocities committed to their children and their family are some of the strongest peace workers there are, because they said that old formula, that kill for this, I saw through it.
Yes.
You know, in fact, there was that old formula that ravaged my young daughter or whatever. And so it is possible to step outside of that also. But I mean, it's not really in the norm.
Well, it needs to be the norm. And it is actually the norm if you study it a bit. You'll find a lot of guys will play sports where they bash the hell out of each other and then love each other afterwards. You know, they'll take each other out in the car park and knock bits out of each other, and sometimes, in some percentage of the time, they end up friends. It's as if through fear, and we've got these shows on TV, particularly from your country, that cutting bodies up and murders and rapes. You know, my kids are watching TV last night, you know, showing graphically what's happening in these rape situations, and it's as if I don't think we're numbing ourselves to it. We're just getting to the point where we can actually exist with this energy so that we can understand it for what it is and get on a better footing with it. And I think at the end of the day, we haven't got on a footing with violence or greed or control or that kind of thing, and owned it within ourselves. And I think all the time on TV, it's giving us an opportunity to look at it, you know, and like, it's not about right or wrong, you know, it's okay to go to war and it's okay to not go to war. It's all okay. It's just these stances tend to be exclusive of the other stance. I'm right and you're wrong. Same old duality, same old problem. It's dovetailing to a point where some people are going to go, there's no right or no wrong. It just is, you're going to war and I'm not going to war. I've got friends that chain themselves at the dam here to stop the rednecks, as we call them, chopping the trees down. We've got the oldest trees in the world in this country, in Melbourne and Tasmania, Huon pines, 5, 10, 15,000 years old. And, you know, I make jokes with them. I say, who's the problem? You've both got an energy that's just saying stuff you, and these energies participate. There's not being to being connection. But even in these moments, there were wonderful connections, and some people change and become the other side. A very good teacher of mine, a good point I'll make, on national TV in New Zealand, he makes the armour for Xena and Hercules, and I'm sure he'd have done Lord of the Rings. We've lost contact. There's a guy called Dave Green, a Maori activist with one eye missing, tattoos totally, tried to decapitate his son on national TV with a taiha, which is a weapon, and he only had sort of cosmetic, armory. It wasn't the real thing. Dave met this activist in court who tried to kill his son, basically, or certainly maim him. And what passed between them was love. And they dropped the act against the guy to put him in prison or whatever it was going to happen. And he now is a court-appointed person that works with violent offenders. And often, you know, the greatest priests, often the guy's been a bikie and has become a priest now because he understands the rough kids in town. You know, there but the grace of God go. I don't know the expressions, but I think we've all had to tread in so many different shoes to understand this landscape, so that we can't judge it because we've walked over the whole landscape.
In another sense, you know, we've all got stuff, right?
Yeah.
In other words, we have a reaction from our relationships and from the world as a whole,
Yeah.
right? And so then I guess we think that we should act out our stuff. Sometimes we should act it out, right? And sometimes we can sit with it, not sit on it.
Yeah.
Sit with it. And somehow we can see where it moves to, or how it moves.
Yeah.
And so then when you say, well, it's okay to go to war, or okay not to go to war, or these are the war guys and these are not. I mean, the guys that changed themselves to that tree, the effect of it is at least one of those trees is still standing. But if they didn't, they'd be down, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I suppose that's an effect that was gratifying to them.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, if I ever see the tree, it'll be gratifying to me too, right? So then, should we act out our stuff, or should we kind of take a pause and take a second look at it? And then that's, I mean, when you say it's okay to go to war, I'm saying take a pause.
I don't know if I have my life and what I can decide. I just think everyone has their life and the right to do what they're going to do. And especially if it's formed within a government that's voted to do that, or supposedly those people represent the people and this is what the people want to do, and a large percentage of the people in every country support that and want to enforce that or believe in that, then that's fine. You know,
It does.
I found
oftentimes it seems like we don't know what we're supporting. One thing, it seems like we're picking the less worst of two, you know, the least of two worst alternatives. Okay. Then we get so much into that, we start thinking like nothing can be done, so we're resigned, and so the hell with it.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't really matter. One guy is just as bad as the other. So then I don't know if we're represented, right? And
I don't think we are, but I think you wanted something to happen here, and I could feel it. It's like the butterfly effect, you know. Everything affects everything. It will only take a certain steady consciousness to fasten itself within the earth. It's already in the earth, as us as a humanity, to have other people fasten that consciousness. It'll be like a tarp that's just blown too far off the world, and each one sort of brings it back into the earth, and we bring this tent down, and we might have a wonderful tent over the whole of the earth, and we'll call it love, holistic, caring, whatever. And I just think we're just learning, you know, and some people are blowing with the wind and some people are trying to ground themselves.
One cool thing you said was it's already here.
Yes.
So then somehow we just have to notice it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? And other people will start noticing, you said, because you said they bring it down and so on. But in other words, they notice it, and they have to notice it in others, and then later they can start noticing it in themselves. But I mean, is there a technique to that, or is that just
it's natural. We can't teach natural. It's already within us. We have to see natural. So I'm pretty sure it's what they try to put across in Avatar. How can you teach a mind that's already full, and the love of animals. What the Buddhists try to teach. I don't stand for any one religion. I support them all as best as I can. But it's just what I've learned. It took me a long time to learn this. Was growth is inclusive, not exclusive. So I found that if I'm excluding something, and no matter how subtle, feather, brick, mac, truck, or beyond the feather into levels of subtlety, I'm robbing myself of my own process, my own understanding of who I really am, which is everything. And then you start to get what all the really big teachers talk about, the everything and the nothing, all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, for me, it's about feeling everything, being responsible for everything, and then making choices that are appropriate to my character, my patterning, what I have. And then if I make poor choices, which, as you said at the start of this talk, we often see what we thought was us isn't. Well, if I'm gentle with that, I found it's in the gentleness and the softness that's allowed me to do that. And as a physically interested person, I found the most powerful people I've ever met are often the softest, because they're actually able to work with earth energy or natural energy. A friend of mine's an Ironman champion. And when I hugged him, it was like hugging a sponge. I thought Iron Man, he was going to be like iron. I could make his lats go in like that, just pull him in like a sponge, because he was so soft, he could be like the water when he was in the water. So, and dolphins would come and talk to him, and, he looks like a dolphin in the water. His little eye comes out,
That's amazing, because so many times people, if they have a hard image, they somehow harden up to go in sync with that image. But that's an amazing story that somebody is actually very strong, but also able to keep themselves supple and soft.
I'm certain my future's in the softness.
So the softness is a listening, right? Because you're not fending anything, you're not fending off, or you're not, So then it's an absorbing and a listening, and somehow. And
often I'll say to people in workshops, did anyone feel that bird noise? Yeah. Did you let it pass through you? And sometimes people have felt the sound go through their body, as if they were the space that they really are, rather than the solid, whatever it is it could be, that's where probably ill health is. Most cancers want to come out of body, apparently. If you let them go, they'll come out. There's a hole, there's millions of holes here, they'll get out. But we mess with them and try to hold them in and that kind of thing. A lot of people die of perhaps unnecessary health concerns. There's a top cancer guy in the world saying we've been doing the wrong stuff for a while, Top cholesterol guys, I'm reading some really interesting stuff at the moment, and I kind of always felt this, I never took margarine. It was like eating plastic, and why have we become? My daughter wants me to call my book stupid, but I don't have the guts to do it, But we have been stupid, so to speak, in comparison to our greater knowledge,
Okay, here's a question for you now.
Yeah.
Because you said with the health and, with a lot of education and, we've been kind of like 180 degrees off in a way with so many things and the way we relate and the way we operate our institutions and societies. I mean, even if there's learning, it seems like we can't get there from here. What's the transition? How are we going to change? It seems like there's so many people invested in the way it is. The transition. So what about spiritual teachings or I mean, where are we standing on our head in this is a good question. I haven't even asked this to myself.
You're scaring me before we start.
Yeah, no kidding. Somewhere we're standing on our head, and this things we're saying are upside down, right?
Yeah. I think there's a big joke there. I mean, somewhere stupid's got to meet real or natural. That's the picture I get. I tend to get pictures. And the people that know me call me like the middleman. I'm the puzzle guy. I feel how things already are, or how they come together if they're disparate, Relationships are a big thing for me. I have two parents that really barely said a few words in 40 odd years to each other. And I'm like, how could you be conscious and hold this for such a long time, you know? So my heart's really into relationship and bleeding through the problems so that we get into the union of the answer, you know, which normally is community-based, conscious-based, flow-based, where everyone's supported by that connection. First step for me is connection, you know, and then there's flow. And then with flow is where I get the answers, you know, if there are any for me. And a lot of the time there aren't. You know?
Connection and flow. So connection already means engage, right?
Yeah.
Engagement, right? Because like without engagement, okay, there's no connection, right?
No.
And then you get to see what's going to happen. The flow could be there or not, you know.
Yeah.
Now, like probably what's our only tool might just be our attention, right?
Yeah.
And not that we have full control of it, or even any control of it, or I don't know what. You know, how does that work? How does our attention work?
I think the attention is probably not owned by us that you're speaking about. And this is what everyone goes on about, God or the universe or consciousness or whatever it is. And there's so many different words for it. I think we've just got to feel it ourselves. But I know sometimes I participate in awareness that's not like totally Kean's, you know. I think it's kind of like computers when they hook up, you know, Google, you know, the web, you know, what a great...
So the network comes in, you know, and your network cable is ruling, right? It's called collective consciousness or something like that, right?
Yeah. So for me...
And if you never unplug it, you don't even know the difference, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, and if there's a way you can unplug it, but we say meditation is the way to unplug, but, you know, who knows?
Well, I don't have time to meditate, you know. I got kids, you know, and meditation, I just read someone very intelligent put it in a way I can't even remember to tell you, but it made sense to what I'm actually doing myself. And I studied with the head of TM for quite a while, and I got my mantra and did all that sort of thing. And, you know, but I wasn't impressed with that for me. It worked for him and others, but I've got 4 kids. I mean, I'm not joking. We were watching Harry Potter last night. People talk over the top of the movie the whole time. Anyone that likes to talk a bit, forget it. There's not a moment's silent, a moment's peace. If you want to define peace, everyone shuts up and I just watch Harry Potter. Or in Australia, Richard, we have a thing called cricket, okay? And it's a 5-day game, you know, and I could watch a whole test match with no silence, like a meditation. And it is meditative. Many Australian people go to sleep watching the cricket. And it's just a focused intention in the moment. That's all meditation is. Attention to the moment to become oneself, you know, and, you know, so people knock cricket as a Philistine pursuit, maybe like baseball or whatever. It's so boring, it takes forever. But some people's meditation, you know. My mantra, if there is one, with my wife is just be with what is and be happy, you know. And if I'm not happy, well, it's okay too, you know.
Of course, so much of what is, well, of course, everything that is also interpreted. Yeah. And so much of the interpretation is coming through that network cable again, right? Yeah, that's right. So then it has a feeling that goes with it. Yep. You know, because the network cable says it's a bad thing, and so we're tight. We feel real tight about it, right? Or it says it's a good thing, but it just took off, so we have to chase it, right? Yeah. So then how do we, you know, even being with what is, okay, you could do it in a bodily way, so somehow you could just, does it dissipate or does it somehow reconnect if you just stay with it and don't run from it, you know? But even what does it mean, don't run from it? You're going to say be with what is. What does that mean?
I just think be, you know, is the big thing. That's why I say be yourself. And initially when you started speaking, I got the feeling of where people learn to feel with their minds. So it's like a metaphysical feeling. A lot of people are quite awake in their minds, but yet their bodies are not happy. If you look at their health, their bodies are maybe a bit of a cesspit. You know, I used to say to people when I was a bit younger and a bit more annoying, I'd say, can you run, you know, 10 kilometers? Can you cycle 100? Can you swim 3Ks? And most people's bodies can't do that. And I was like, as a phys ed teacher, well, that's a basic. Can't you do that? And there'd be people on Zimmer frames and, you know, and there's Stephen Hawkins and there's guys that's okay, cut that philosophy out, Kean. That's not going to be popular, you know. But there is a bit where I definitely find for me the sexiest women are the ones that do yoga because they're yoking with God. They're in union with God. They're not doing the big sexy show my fanny thing or whatever. They really understand connection and flow. And a lot of the yogic philosophy is very big in what my wife and I believe about, you know, the Indian, because there's quite a bit of love in that country. And I taught Indian children in London. I was impressed with their intelligence and love. But the body's the biggest thing, and I think that's something even they maybe miss a fair bit unless they do yoga, which not everyone does in India. I think it's getting in the body. You know, I think the last 20 years was very much people getting their head and their hearts working together and getting their words to match really where they're coming from, not just more head. And then what we're working on lately, my wife and I, and we're not Tantra teachers or anything like that, but it's just getting people, Tantra means soul closer, is just getting in the body more. And then my whole body's speaking to you right now, the whole spectrum of my body, from my feet in red, if you want to call it, to my head in violet, is my light to you and yours to me. So I think we're attempting to be ourselves and attempting to be authentic enough, for want of a better term, or real enough for other people to go, hey, I can balance myself to that. And school's boring. I want to learn some of this, you know.
I like what you said when you said get the words to match.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But somehow you have to see where you're at, you know, and then be pause long enough to kind of let those words form around where you are, you know. So kind of, if that might be a two-step process, where you first pause enough to kind of get the feel of it. What is this? And then really have to pause for a while to let the words match.
Yeah, thanks.
And a lot of the words that I'm talking about, you don't even see. There's just like a underground belief structure that says this is how the world works, and this is where justice is, and this is what they should have done, and this is what I should do. And then those things are not really ever mouthed as words, but somehow they're there if you kind of, they can be discovered.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you know, one of my teachers talked about group mind, and there are certain religions or countries that have group mind. Someone just needs to say one thing and everyone's like mad people just rushing off with that group mind, and it's like, well, have you really inspected this, and this is what you really believe? And I think that's just, I'm only just starting to sort of pull myself out the matrix, so to speak, and go, well, what am I really about? What do I believe in? And what do I want to do? That's been the biggest thing to help me, is what do I want to do and what's real to me? You know, what I want to be about. You know?
So in one way, the group mind is a magnet that sucks your attention, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Boom, it just sucks it right in.
Yeah.
And then we're saying, no, somehow feel that magnet or notice it, that you've just been magnetized, and that somehow you can't get on, you don't want to get on that train this time. You've done it plenty of times.
Yes.
Right? And so then, I don't know whether your attention has the guts to do it. I mean, because I mean, a lot of times you get a thought.
Yeah.
And you want to say, I don't need to say that, but it's such a good one.
Yes.
You know, I don't want to waste it.
Yeah.
and it would really hit hard here, because I can really twist that guy's tail, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't want to waste my chance because such a good, ironic thought came up or something like that.
Well, if we could role play that, one of the most sophisticated things, if people can role play their insanity or their things they do, you know, we'd be much freer, you know. And I think I at times when I'm challenged by my wife, I take it really seriously what she says, and that for me is a key to the fact I'm still within the matrix and I'm still justifying my guy eating the red steak, you know. Whereas when I'm with Kath, I don't know, she's just loving, and she just accepts my psychosis, my madness, my group mind, my craziness, my whatever it is. And that's why I talk about the softness of love, you know, more than the feather. It just allows her to, I balance myself to her a lot, you know, because she's
so
really
you mean
helpful
even
for me.
less than the feather, right?
Yeah.
Something that's even more subtle.
Yeah.
Right? And so then just our feeling nature can be developed, or we can just start to, you know, because you've always said that it's right here, right?
Yep.
Out of the several things that we said.
Yeah.
So then our subtlety can be noticed, let's say then.
I met my wife only about 3 k's down the road doing a true light workers course called physiology. It's a Greek word, right? And I met her on this boat with these crazy people that, you know, believe all sorts of things and whatever, but they're very capable people too. It doesn't the madness and the enlightenment go in the same thing? You know, the mad professor, you know, there are a couple of mad professors, and my wife worked with these guys and a couple of doctors, and she just, what did she say? She'd already done, it was a information-based course, but she had to be on the second one. I was meant to be on the first one, but I cancelled for some reason, and I was on the second one. Now we're on the water, and eventually we got off, and we're standing on ley lines, you know, and we don't have the little, you know, we were using these copper rods that cross when you're on top of a ley line, and the Romans knew about this years ago. They used to walk on them to beef themselves up energy-wise to be ready for a fight. Well, I could feel the ley lines with my feet. I could feel them coursing through my body, and I found all the ley lines with my feet. And we learnt about auras and all sorts of things. Well, these are very subtle energies. They're microwave that's like millions of waves a second, very subtle. We don't feel it, but yet some kids, autistic and others, they're being messed up by, apparently I'm told, if we coloured the world with the waves of electromagnetic radiation, we couldn't see each other now, whereas 50 years ago it'd be nice and clean. So things have ramped up quite a bit. It's really quite full on, and some people are being affected by it in terms of nutrition or electromagnetic radiation. So I think subtlety's the key. Softness, subtlety, you know, is where we'll find our serenity, if I'm going to do the 3 S's here.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
I really.
So, you know, one thing people say, especially about, okay, you know, even the electromagnetic could affect your digestion or affect your minerals, I think they say.
Yes.
Somehow it demineralizes your, you know, and surely some people are more sensitive to others and others don't hear.
Yeah.
You gotta listen to my cell phone and watch my computer all day long, and
yeah,
maybe I'm so dull with it already that I don't notice any difference, right?
Yes.
But some people are saying at least try to have one room clean as you can and call it a sleep sanctuary.
It's a good idea. I mean, like, you know, when you start to clean up a house, you clean up one corner, one room, and yeah, it's a pattern. And there's a guy from your country, Stephen Covey, and he had 6 kids. Straight away, he's my guru. I've never read his books, but I can feel how good they are. And his representation to the world was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I think at the end of the day, most of us have to create good habits to become good. You know, if you can't do God, do good. I had the extra O to, you know, I can be good, you know, and everyone's into the all good. It's all, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow, I mean, I don't know. Okay, let's say you have 7 things and you like it, and then you recognize, oh, I'm doing number 4 now. Yes. Oh, I'm doing number 3 now. Yeah. Later, I'll have a chance to do number 6 because I'm going to be over there. And so, I don't know. Does that get old, or is that...
It can become another religion, but it's another way of noticing. Like the Brahma Kumaris have got a watch they've made for all of the people around the world, and they're beautiful people, the Brahma Kumaris, that goes off every 10 minutes because it makes them notice, what am I doing now? Am I in the moment? Am I thinking bad thoughts about my wife, etc.? Whatever technique, there are millions of them, fine. Mine, I don't have one. I sometimes worry because if I had all these techniques, I'd have a science that everyone could follow, a new religion. But didn't Krishnamurti do this? The 3,000 most aware people in the world formed the Order of the Star in 1929. He was the first Indian to talk to the UN. And as they formed the order, they said, right, Krishna, what do we do now? And he ripped up the order and said, go and work it out yourself. You know, that's even in my favourite film, The Love Guru, the chastity belt that Mike Myers had to wear the whole time. At the end, Ben Kingsley, who played Gandhi in an Oscar-winning performance, big laugh, said the key to your chastity belt was always at the back. You could have taken it off any time. You know what I mean?
So that was his thought. Some thoughts were there, like a chastity belt, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then that thought was there, but he believed that he shouldn't give up that thought because somehow tradition says that that's...
The guru said it was bad. So to have those thoughts, he had to wear the chastity belt till the guru said it wasn't bad. You know, so...
No, I'm saying that the chastity belt is a symbol for a thought, because we don't have a chastity belt on, but we've got thoughts locked in.
Yep.
Our thought patterns are locked in, right?
Definitely.
So then, when sometime we're going to find out we don't need them, and there can be a key. Okay, a promise. You know, there's a promise there that we don't need it.
Yeah.
And then why did we make it? Or you know, let's just wire it that we can unmake it. I amend my promise.
I think, I think we just got to lose a few chastity belts and we'll be fine. You know, I think life's a lot easier than we all make it out to be, and I think we complicate it so much that it becomes unnatural. You know, I think you know, it's a testimony to the people in my industry that there's research out there that a lot of people do better with a good weekend in nature than they do often in therapy, you know, because sometimes therapy doesn't introduce nature. So we try to do the best with our thing. We get people to get out in nature as much as possible.
Of course, if you go all the way, everything's nature. Absolutely. We're all made of the earth, right?
Yeah.
So then center of Sydney is nature.
Yep.
And the bricks and steel are nature. And
Yep. And there's some people who love it.
And asphalt are nature. And then...
Yep. Like the rednecks, there's people in offices loving their cufflinks and their starch shirts and their ties and all that material around them. They're at home, you know, it's solid for them. They enjoy that solidity, and other people got to get out to Bondi, which is one of the districts outside of Sydney, or somewhere further away, or further and further away. I've done that. I grew up in London, then I went to Sydney, Gold Coast, and now went to Yamundi, tiny little town, and now I live in Nambour. It's only 30,000 people. Like, ooh, is anyone here? You know, it's, yeah.
I want to talk to everyone. So, like, I want to develop a languaging that works in Sydney just as good as London is, just as good as Nambour. You know, somehow, is there such a thing, or am I just a pipe dreamer?
No, I think you're doing a great job. I wouldn't have come here if you weren't doing a good job. I got my kids here on holiday. This is the first thing I'm doing coming down here. You're doing a great job.
I thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Thank you for that judgment.
Yeah.
Or that acknowledgement, let's say.
Yeah. No, you know, I got nothing other than anyone else here, but my time's really important to me, and my family's really important, and I'm moving away more from the industry that I'm in to hopefully put out a message that's clear and clean in a book and with my wife, and as a representation in my life. And if I touch a few people, which we do, in the way that we love our ex-partners and we get on with them, they're all around us at Christmas, and people just get amazed. I turn up at the school with my ex-partner, they think I'm still married to her, and I think that's the important thing. You know, really the basic part of my work initially is the mum and dad connection. Is like, do you feel a soulful spiritual connection with your parents? Can you feel their soul? Can you feel their spirit? And are you connected to it? And I think that's evolution to start with, because if I can't feel the flow from my parents, then I'm in the insanity thinking I'm going to do a better job than them. And I know that my parents want the best for me as I want the best for my kids, and I don't think I'm the first generation to ever want the best for their kids, and I'm just, you know, I'm just doing the best I can to love and appreciate and respect everyone out there. And I do the opposite a lot, you know, and like you said, like tearing muscle, I totally agree with that. I do the opposite so much. It's ridiculous that I really would rather call myself a hypocrite than a teacher at times, you know, but like I have a go, you know, that's all. Yeah,
well, that's the wider definition we were talking about. Like there's the times when we kind of dive into like the unknowing confusion and contradiction, and there's the times when we're clear, and there's the times when we're seeing both of those. And then let's just say the definition is even wider than that, because let's leave a little room for some unknown.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I kind of want to go back to, because like, at one time you said, and then there's those guys that are into the, you know, the form and the formless, or the nothing and no thing and the everything.
Yeah.
Like, what is that all about anyhow?
Oh, you got me there. I mean, I don't know a thing about it. There's a guru up our part of the world. His name was the Tree of Life, or a bunch of really cool shops that do, you probably know the Tree of Life, really, really cool women's clothes, and they support a guy called Meher Baba. And Meher Baba, funny enough, they have a shrine to him in Mumbai. Mumbai is the tiniest little town you can imagine. If you turn left at the Big Pineapple, you go 9 kilometres into Nambour, and about 6 k's in is Mumbai. And they have a shrine to this guy, and he's like a Krishnamurti. I recently put it this way myself. I said, when we're in the duality, this is the way I see it, because I can't really explain how anyone else sees it. There is everything and something. It's all, everything and something is in there. But yet peace, enlightenment, serenity, witness consciousness, the observer, who we really are, is nothing. It's not even considered. So there's a friend of mine that runs a bank in England. He's a CEO of a bank. And I said, look, we need to give the Dalai Lama some money. And he said, F-U-C-K, the Dalai Lama. Because he's so into the everything and something of making money, he couldn't give a crap about, you know, a good guy that could do with some funding or some support, you know, and he's got some pretty decent integrity and a decent message. So I see this as the everything as far as the ego is concerned, and spirituality is the nothing. You follow me? Whereas when I'm in spirituality and I can see my kids fighting over an iPod cord, or who wears the costumes on this holiday, or which theme park we go to, or something like that, it's really nothing. It doesn't matter where we go. We're going to have fun. We'll end up back in heaven, or whatever you want to call it, and we'll piss ourselves laughing. Is a very Australian expression, like, ho, 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 you know, wasn't that funny? Remember that time? You know, and that's what my wife and I are like. Our kids get all, you know, whatever, whereas to us, there's nothing in that, and in here it's everything. They get a lot more profound, these great teachers, but, you know, that's how I see it, you know. Yeah.
Sometimes peace, it strikes me that peace is just a realization that there's no needs. I don't need anything, at least at this moment, right?
Yes.
And then all conflict and all drama really is all about neediness, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I got to have something, or I want this, or I want that.
Yes.
And so then all that and want and need basically comes from dissatisfaction, right?
Yeah.
Because it stems out of like basic dissatisfaction, and then some kind of need will fix it, right?
Yeah.
And then if there's any such thing as basic satisfaction, which means like this is it. I mean, what could be better than this? Then peace is automatically, I don't know, not even a passenger. It's kind of like the vehicle. Yeah. Peace is the vehicle.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, I think peace is the connection to the everything, the flow, the universe, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, the experience of it.
Yeah.
It's just the human experience of, and you get it by not having any needs, and you get not having any needs by somehow focusing on your satisfaction. That's why so many religions and so many teachers talk about gratitude. And
my wife teaches at the end of every class, and she still has to point it out to me. And often I'll paint a fence or something. She says, pull back, have a look at this fence. And I've got to finish it off. No, come pull back, have a look. And, I'm very fortunate, lucky, loving, happy guy. And she still has to point it out to me because I don't see it, and it's like I say, it's already there. It's just noticing what's already there. I think people look outside themselves too much. And to quote a good guy again, Krishnamurti, 1954, they paid $300 US to see him. He made them wait half an hour, and they got a bit peed off with him. He's this disrespectful Indian guy, and he kind of felt the space they needed to be in, and he walked in and he just said, look within. And he got up and left, and that was his $300 worth, and that's incredible. I'm still learning look within, today,
Yeah, but it's more than that, I think, because where's within? I mean, they're saying maybe don't look without, right? But there's no within, right? I mean, okay, where are we going to go for within? I mean, within is without. I mean, I'm not speaking like a declaration. Like, I'm just trying to say, like, if you're saying, well, what's next? I mean, of course, this is next. We're here already, right? Kean and Richard are talking, and that's it. That's like the most meaningful thing in the world right now.
Well, yeah, definitely. And there are times when I looked at you, and there was a real flow between us, and it's what I call where the in and the out are the same. It's my words. I call it the miracle bridge. It's like I've had one dear friend who studied with a friend of yours that's on the thing, and she was in my eyes looking back at herself, and that was pretty cool. Yeah. I haven't done that yet myself, but I think it's that's a good sign. You can let your mind go and relax.
So in a way, we're making a playground. Like we're making a playground.
Yeah.
Sometimes we call it a class or a workshop or something, but it's a playground where we can just be together. We're with each other.
Yeah.
And we're with each other in love. And
yeah.
I guess in playfulness too, because I mean that's what's going to work, right?
Familiarity breeds love. I used to say it breeds content, but you hang people long enough together and they just get with each other.
Yeah.
That's aloha. I was just reading about that today. Urban Shaman, great book. Aloha. Just aloha. with love. I got lots of friends looking to get me to Hawaii. I thought, go to the land of love. Me to love with the love people.
Familiarity breeds love, but I mean, God, that's only when it's voluntary, right? When you can always check out, right? And then it's really love. But if you feel like you're trapped, and I can't get away from this guy.
Well, our stuff, I even run a week-long retreat, and I had a guy who had anxiety issues, and I said, well, come and do the first 2.5 days. It's too much for you. He said, I can't fault you on anything. And he never told me, and right at the end, he just said, I'm going now. I said, that's okay. But if he'd let me know about 2 or 3 hours before, like he was going through labor pains or something like that, we could have got him to get through this massive anxiety. People have to communicate too. But yeah, we always have an out.
Oh, yeah. We're not sensitive enough. I felt that. Like,
yeah.
I was with some people, and I said, oh my God, I'm not hugging this person enough. What's going on here,
Yeah.
I lost my contact. I lost that person,
Yeah.
But fortunately, I wasn't in a workshop or anything like that.
Yeah.
But somehow you can notice it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. Yeah. Well, that's just... I think we all do it all the time.
I'm not hugging you enough right now. Oh my God.
That just being silly.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Oh, Kean,
bless your heart, mate. Yeah,
Kean,
thanks.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Really great to be with you.
Me too.
I just feel a real warmth and a glowing and like a practicality and just a willingness to let's everyone wake up together, you know, let's play with each other, play together and find that we aren't needy, you know, that we don't need any more than this.
No. Well said.
Yeah. So you're with Kean Buckley and be yourself. And so we've kind of attempted to be ourselves, and you sitting back there being yourself. So
thanks a million.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.